Hi folks, today we're going to respond to an economist who, despite his death, has proposed a theory that is popular to this day. This theory is called Malthusian Economics. Thomas Malthus was an English economist and a classical liberal who lived from 1766 to 1834. In 1798, he wrote an essay on the principle of population, and in preparation for this video, I read the book. In this, he responded to many optimistic thinkers like anarchist William Godwin and liberal Nicholas Condorcet about how they believed humanity can evolve into a utopian society where population growth would be stable. The main theory that he stipulates is that population would increase at an exponential rate while the food supply or subsistence would increase at a linear rate. In other words, food wouldn't increase as fast as population, and this would theoretically lead to famines and poverty since there is limited food for the population. And he has argued that war and poverty should be a natural and necessary limit regardless of how horrible it is to the growth of population. He specifically states that population would double every 25 years if left unchecked. Now, I have to admit, initially I didn't think highly of Malthus before I read the book, but I surprisingly agreed with some of his views on the economy and his opposition to anarchism. Regardless, let's look a bit at his essay.
I said that population, when unchecked, increased in a geometrical ratio, and subsistence for man in an arithmetical ratio. This ratio of increase, though short of the utmost power of population, yet as a result of actual experience, will take as our rule and say that population, when unchecked, goes on doubling itself every 25 years or increases in a geometrical ratio.
Sorry about that. From these quotations, let us see if his claims are true. According to Malthus, a rise in population should increase poverty as food won't grow in proportion, leading to less food for everyone. Malthus's book was written in 1798, so let us check the world population at that time. According to Worldometer in 1804, the population was 1 billion, and according to Our World in Data, the population in 1800 was 1 billion. Currently, the world population is 7 billion, and in 2016, specifically was 7.46 billion. That year will be more important later on in the video. So from Malthus's time to the present, the world population increased by 7 times. To test Malthus's theory, we need to check in the past 200 years whether poverty increased significantly. According to a US official in 2016, in over a period of 3 decades, extreme poverty was cut in half. Politifact fact-checked this. They revealed that the official was backed up by a UN report that extreme poverty fell from roughly 1.9 billion in 1990 to 836 million in 2015, a 58% reduction. Furthermore, a World Bank report displayed that in 1990, extreme poverty fell from 1.958 billion to 702 million in 2015, which is a 74.1% reduction. However, these studies defined extreme poverty as either below $1.25 or $1.90 a day. It doesn't account for regional inequality. In other words, Americans living around $1.90 a day wouldn't even be considered extremely poor. Now, there's a remedy to this. Oxford's multi-dimensional poverty index considers a multitude of factors such as nutrition, education, poverty, and access to water and electricity. Using this, Oxford calculated in 34 countries that on average, poverty decreased by 5.6%, although it was in a period of 2 to 8 years compared to 3 decades. Regardless, no matter how you slice it, poverty has decreased to such an extent in the past 3 decades despite a rise in population, which is why Politifact rated the official's claim as mostly true. This is further reinforced by this graph from Our World in Data, where from 1820 to 2015, despite the population increasing from 1 billion to 7 billion, the number of people not in extreme poverty has vastly increased. It appears that Malthus has been empirically proven wrong. What a shock! How could Malthus be so wrong? Well, for starters, he was right that the human population would increase at a geometric rate instead of a linear one, but he failed to take into account that food would also increase at a geometric rate. How so? Well, for one thing, animals are food. Malthus assumed that the animal population wouldn't increase as fast due to being primitive and the animals not caring about each other. He didn't realize farmers could farm these animals, allowing them to reproduce, which allowed for animals to increase at a similar rate to humans. In addition, currently the world is able to produce enough food for 10 billion for a world of 7 billion due to advances in farming technology. Opponents might argue that if the world can produce enough food for 10 billion, why is world hunger a problem? Well, world hunger is only a problem because it isn't evenly distributed. Why? Why did I respond to a 200-year-old economist whose ideas have been refuted by people much smarter than me? Well, because many believe a version of Malthus's theory in relation to climate change, where they believe Earth's population has been accelerating too fast. They primarily reside in Western nations, despite Western countries having lower birth rates, meaning the growing populations are only existent in poorer areas, and we can solve these accelerating populations by increasing the living standards of these economies. We do, however, differ on the solutions. Regardless, some of the so-called climate Malthusians have considered controlling the population, while others have proposed economically unfeasible solutions. Nevertheless, this doesn't excuse those who want to reject the reality of the problem. That will be it for now. If you liked this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And see you in the next video.